Hello pals and welcome to the May vlog. It is May the 18th today. Usually I start filming at the beginning of the month. This has been quite a strange month so far. Last week was really full on because Max decided to go on a hunger strike to raise awareness about the forced famine in Gaza. The energy in the house was just very, very heavy, partly because he felt pretty awful and had real mood swings, but also because we were constantly thinking about Gaza and people in Palestine. Because of his low energy, I ended up kind of taking over all of his production. So he made videos every single day, which we filmed together, and then I edited all of them. So that was quite full on, and it went quite far. It got more uptick than I think he thought there would be. So I also was kind of helping him manage press requests as well as positivity. There was also a lot of negativity, as I'm sure you can imagine. And it was also quite isolating because we were mostly at home because he didn't have the energy to go anywhere. Yesterday, we decided to go to the London Nakba protest, which was absolutely incredible. There were nearly 500,000 people on the street. People just really fell into this sense of community. London has shown up so strongly for the Palestine movement over the past 18 months. Obviously, I think it's because we understand how the Nakba, which is when 750,000 Palestinians were forcibly and violently displaced from their homes in 1948, was partly a result of a British mandate. I think that is one of the reasons why London takes a very kind of anti-imperial stance. But it's also because this is a human rights issue and it's a humanitarian issue, and I think everyone just feels completely heartbroken about what we're seeing and wants to do as much as they possibly can. Angela Davis says this the whole time, but Palestine is a moral litmus test. To me, if you're fighting for a free Palestine, you also care about climate justice, you care about the Congo, you care about Sudan, you care about social injustice, you care about disability rights, you care about trans rights. It really is kind of an all-encompassing movement because it proves that none of us are free until all of us are free, as Fannie Lou Hamer famously says. I was starting to get really worried about Max's health. It's one thing doing it in the comfort of your home, it's quite another doing it at a protest in the blazing sunshine in a city with loads of people around, police everywhere. And I just kept looking at him like, oh, buddy, I don't think you're doing well. Lots of people have seen his hunger strike efforts this week, so I really wanted to chat with him, and he was doing amazingly, but I could just tell he looked like he was zoning out and he couldn't concentrate for very long. He had headaches all of last week, but he said they were getting quite intense. So he made the decision to break his hunger strike, which I was actually pretty grateful for. I think with hunger strikes you need a really, really clear, simple demand. His demands were quite vague. They were like, I just want to raise awareness and support the BDS boycott campaign, removing Israeli products from supermarket shelves, and he also was calling on people to write to their local MP, but these are quite kind of general demands. I was just concerned that he was going to keep going to a point where he was no longer healthy, so he could no longer speak up about this. So he decided to break his fast at a Palestinian restaurant called Sheikh Shuka. He's really good friends with Halim, who's the owner of the restaurant, and Halim was the one he kind of called when he decided to do the hunger strike and said, what do you think? And Halim was like, I really support this, I think you should do it. So it felt a bit of a full circle moment to be ending it at Sheikh Shuka. But again, I think it's quite an emotional thing because obviously it was his choice to end and to start eating again. And Palestinians in Gaza don't currently have that choice. No food has entered the region in over 2 months. So yes, sorry to start on this kind of tone for the video, but I'm also it's been a big part of our month, so I did really want to talk about it with you guys here. I also know that a lot of you don't have, Instagram where he's been posting videos and stuff, and you might not have seen this anyway. So that has been the thing this month. It's Max's brother's wedding on Saturday. Max's brother is getting married in Connecticut. We're going to spend a few days in New York City, and I don't know if I'm looking forward to it in the way that I would usually, and that is mostly due to the kind of political state of the USA right now. Especially as an activist and someone who's been very vocal about Palestine, that is something that apparently border control are really hot on. Obviously, we have white privilege, and this is something that our black and brown friends have had to be thinking about for their whole lives entering the USA. That is kind of slightly weighing on me a little bit. I haven't started packing, and we leave first thing tomorrow morning, so wish me luck with packing. Hello from New York City. I'm very glad to say day. We made it here very safely. And we are going to go for lunch at a new place that we've just found called Nami Nori, which looks really good, so I have high hopes. This afternoon I'm going to be taking my phone instead of my camera. This is a refurbished phone from Back Market. More on that later. Outfit of the day today, I'm wearing my vintage secondhand Laura Ashley dress that I've had for quite a long time. A lot of you messaged me when I wear this saying my mum wore that on her wedding day in the 70s, which I absolutely adore. So this is one of my favourite vintage dresses. I'm wearing it with my secondhand Celine platforms. I've got some socks on from Finisterre. I have tied my kufiyeh from Hibawi into a bag. Now you want to make your kufiyeh into a tote bag, and I'm going to show you how. Begin with a kufiyeh from Palestine and fold it in half to create a triangle. First corner, second corner, third corner, and you want to start by putting a knot in your first and third corner. 1, 2. And then with your remaining corner, which is corner number 2, you tie one final knot. Final step, you tuck corners 1 and 3 in, and that's it.
Avocado toast, balsamic pizza, fresh carrots.
Thank you.
Or scallions. Truffled maitake mushroom.
Thank you very much.
Cucumber black sesame.
Thank you.
I think it's a couple of days later since I last filmed. To be completely honest with you, my anxiety has been really flaring up this week, and I haven't really felt anxiety like this, sort of this intensely, actually since I was last in New York City. There's something about the energy here that I find quite like shocking to my system, and it definitely takes me a couple of days to adjust to it. And I think there's something about being in New York which honestly feels quite disconnected from Palestine generally. Like walking around the city here, we've seen one person wearing a kufiyeh and we've seen one Free Palestine sign. Even if I'd been in my local hometown, or if I was in London, Palestine is just so much more present. Also, I would say you don't get the same kind of reaction wearing a kufiyeh in New York City to how you do in like other places in England where I wear this. This morning I felt like I was going to have a panic attack, but Max kind of got me breathing, and then I did a workout which I think helped. I'm really sorry because I wanted this to be a really vibey vlog, but it's just not the reality of how I'm feeling. I'm feeling really sad and depressed about Gaza, but I have spoken to my friend Willow, and tomorrow she's going to take me to a Palestinian restaurant, so I think that's really going to help. I think I'm going to go for a walk to the High Line now, and I will be filming everything on my secondhand refurbished phone from Back Market. I absolutely love Back Market. I've had such a good experience with their devices. Even though this is secondhand, it functions exactly like a brand new phone would. I've had absolutely no problems with it. Back Market are kind of the home of refurbished smartphones and tablets and tech, and I have chosen to only buy secondhand tech, I think maybe for like 4 or 5 years now, since I started learning about the impacts of our tech on communities in the Congo, in the DRC, who are facing unbelievably horrendous conditions, digging by hand for cobalt, which is found in all of our devices. And also, frankly, I don't want to contribute to massive multinational corporations like Apple firsthand wherever I can help it. But at the same time, I am a content creator, and I want my videos to be seen far and wide because I believe that they hold important messages. And in order to create engaging content, I do need quite sophisticated tech, so I need a good spec camera. So Back Market for me has been a really wonderful choice. All of the footage that you see in this vlog that isn't me talking to camera will be filmed on my secondhand device from Back Market. I wanted to do that so you can kind of see that a refurbished phone is just the same as a new phone. I think we should get out into the city now. and take some gorgeous, dreamy shots of New York in the rain. Hello, I'm now back from the US. It was so wonderful to spend some time in Connecticut for Max's brother's wedding, which was a lot of fun. And it was also great to see Max's family. I have to say, living halfway across the world from half of your family is really not the best, but it was really, really nice to see them. And I really prioritized spending time in nature while I was in Connecticut for those few days that I was there, because I knew it was the thing that was going to make me feel better. For context, we were staying in a place called Coventry, really near a lake and like a massive woodland, which is in the north of Connecticut. I've never been there before. Within 5 or maybe 10 minutes of being in the wood that was near us, we saw a barred owl, and we literally watched it for 10 minutes. It looked right at us, and it was so beautiful, and we saw it fly through the woods, and it was just one of those magical moments. So yes, I did take a list of every animal that I saw while I was in Connecticut, and I'm going to read it to you. So we saw a barred owl, we also saw an American robin, spotted turtles, many caterpillars, a pickerel frog, a grey tree frog, ducks, squirrels, rabbits, geese, a heron, deers, chipmunks, and a skunk. Very successful trip, and it was just so healing. So when I have some time off in the month of June, I'm definitely going to try and prioritise being outside as much as possible. I'm also going to try and read as much as possible, which in comparison to last year, in terms of books, I have not been reading many books. I've been reading kind of papers and essays and a lot of articles on Substack, but I've not been reading books like I did last year, and I do think that could be one of the reasons as to why I feel not so great up here, because a lot of the stuff that I'm reading is quite energizing, shall we say. But there is one book that I finished last night which I was so excited to share with you guys because it is fantastic. It's called American Bulk by Emily Meester, who is a young award-winning non-fiction writer. This is a collection of essays about excess and consumerism, and it's all told from the perspective of someone who grew up in the Midwest in America. And there are great observations on class and consumerism and hoarding, and I just found this so brilliant. Emily is skilled at really creating a sense of place, and she writes with, I think, a lot of empathy and understanding, which I think is needed, and a lot of us need that in terms of grappling with our own consumerism and all of the objects that we have accumulated and then that we decide to part with. And something that I think really resonated with me is she talks a lot about how even when she donates something or gives an item away, it's still hers. And since I got back from Ghana, I definitely feel that, like seeing all the clothing waste on the beaches. I wrote about this on my Substack actually, but I felt compelled to say to people around like, oh, that's from the UK, like that tag is British, like that's me, that's mine. And that's something I feel about every object I've ever owned, irrespective of whether or not I still technically own it. I can give you just a little taste of her writing. The American dream as we know it is abundance. It's a dream to amass houses, children, cars. It's a dream to collect things of value. But it is an equally American dream to be able to abandon, drop everything, to jettison without guilt anything that weighs you down. I just think it's brilliant. I cannot wait to see what she writes next, and I cannot recommend it enough. An audio book that I listened to over the past month or so is Love in Exile by Sean Fay. This is a book about love, but it's also a comment on the politics of love, and it's told from the perspective of a trans woman, someone who has had a very unique experience. And Sean Fay is just so wise. She's such a beautiful and talented writer, and I am recommending this book to anyone who you know, is really thinking about romance and love and friendship at the moment, and I would highly recommend it to you guys as well. So those are my two biggest recommendations in terms of books, I think, of this year so far, and I hope to have more for you soon. I want to say a huge mega shout out to Back Market for sponsoring this video. Thank you so much for working with me. I do not take this lightly. I'll look forward to seeing you guys in the next video. Thank you for being here. Oh, I should run. Okay.